been a pretty crazy couple of hours here in Tuscaloosa, and I think we're starting to maybe dwindle this thing down a little bit. I expect that today's going to be the day. I think you'll know something today. If you don't, something's hit a major snag.
So, Ryan, before we get into all that, let's first go back about 48 hours or so. What was your immediate reaction to the news that Nick Saban was hanging it up? And obviously, you're on the ground there in Tuscaloosa. So, following him all season long, did you suspect that this day was nearing, or did it catch you by surprise?
No, listen, I think anybody that tells you that they knew that this day was coming is probably not being honest with you, because there's a lot of people that will tell you that. I don't believe them. Nick Saban said yesterday to Reese Davis at 3:55, he was still debating, if that was the right time. I have to believe him. I have to take him on his word. 17 years, he's never lied to us. I don't think he was lying then. I think that he truly, when he says that he was debating that at 55 after the hour and 4 o'clock was the team meeting, I have to believe it. And I think when you listen to Nick Saban, if he didn't know, how in the world are we supposed to know? I do look back and I think about moments throughout the season where it looked like that he was coaching with little pressure. There was a different relaxed side of him. Could that have been it? Possibly. But I think that's all stretching, right? You've really got to stretch to come up with that. And I think there's, it's amazing how many insiders we have into Nick Saban's life, and people that, here in Tuscaloosa that I know that know him as well as anybody. There were not any hints. There were not any, hey, this is where we think we're going to go. This is where we think we're going to go. I truly believe him. When he walked in that meeting at 3:55 is when he made the decision that he was going to retire. And, Chris Lowe broke that story a couple of minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock.
So, Ryan, as we look back on the legacy that is Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa, what will stand out to you the most? Obviously, we can talk about the 6 national championships, all the SEC championships, everything he did on the field. But when you think of his legacy at the University of Alabama, what stands out to you most?
I think coming in and flipping the script on the University of Alabama. I grew up in the state of Alabama. I don't think it's a secret that this is my alma mater. When I look at where Alabama was at and the value of where it is today compared to where it was in 2006, 2007, when they were trying to recruit him to the University of Alabama, I think about him flipping the script. I think about, they could not afford one more bad hire. One more bad hire, and the University of Alabama may have never been able to come back alive. If you know anything about the cardiac monitor in an emergency room, there's a flat line in there, asystole, which has no electricity. There's nothing you can do, right? You can shock somebody, but those things are highly unlikely that they'll actually, when you're asystole, you're flatline. Alabama, prior to Nick Saban's arrival, was flatline. There was really no pulse. He flipped the script, not just winning the championships, but he flipped the script on the future of this university, this town, the state, economically. Can you even put it into a dollar figure when you think about doubling the student enrollment? Go through campus, drive through the buildings. I was here prior to Nick Saban's arrival. I remember the buildings. And you see the new construction here. You see the new dorms. You see new condos. You see things that Tuscaloosa could have probably only dreamed about at that point. Economically, it's just hard to put into somewhat of a term to describe it. But economically, yeah, it's easy to point to the championships. But economically, to me, is what it flipped the script on the University of Alabama. When President Witt said it was the greatest investment the University of Alabama has ever made, I think he meant it. And I think he was valid.
Now, Ryan, many of us, if not all of us, saw the videos that came out late on Wednesday, students gathering around the Nick Saban statue. But you're there in person, right? You're there on the ground, obviously, in Tuscaloosa. What was the mood like, and what's the mood been like around the city these last couple of days?
It's been kind of crazy. I think it's been shocked would be the way to describe it. And also, I would say that, listen, the students are important at the University of Alabama. But you also have to remember they're here because of Nick Saban, right? I mean, many of them, not all of them, many of them probably are like me that grew up in the state that wanted to come to the University of Alabama. But many of them are from out of state. They think they know the culture of the University of Alabama. And really all they know is Nick Saban, right? So all they know is winning. But I think for those old school Alabama fans that went through the NCAA, went through coaching searches, every time you flipped your TV on, there was another coach coming in. When you think about those fans, I think they're appreciative of what Nick Saban was able to do because I think they understand it, right? To try to explain to a current student that's from New Jersey or from Chicago that Alabama struggled and that they couldn't afford to hire one more bad coach, I might as well walk up and speak Arabic to them because they don't really understand it. I mean, but for those who have got, let's say, 30 years and above, I think they understand what the University of Alabama was at and the crossroads that one more bad hire and Nick Saban flipped the outcome in the script against the University of Alabama. That's how I'll remember Nick Saban.
So, Ryan, as you mentioned, the coaching search rages on. You'd be surprised if it does not end today. Let's sort of go back to the beginning of the coaching search, Ryan, when this news came out. Was there one guy in your mind that once Nick Saban had made the announcement that your mind went to as this is going to be the guy, this is the home run hire, this is who they should target? Was there one dude in your mind that you felt like was the guy to replace the GOAT or not necessarily?
So when you think about coaches that fits there's only one Nick Saban. That's where I would caution Alabama fans to understand. He's not going to win at the same pace, right? Alabama fans look at, without 3 years without a national title as a failure, right? I mean, you make the playoffs, but college football's changed, and there's not another Nick Saban out here. I don't even think Kirby Smart is where Nick Saban is at when you think about just the amount of respect. So you have to understand that there's nobody out there that's going to be Nick Saban. So when you begin to kind of calculate this in your head, I thought, okay, who could handle that pressure of following? And I immediately went to Lane Kiffin because that's the biggest part of it, is not being intimidated by this Alabama job. It's bigger than, life when you think about it. I mean, I do 4 hours every day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. We talk really nothing but Alabama football. I mean, we really don't cover the other sports. We have a lot of other shows on our station that really does a good job of spreading the love out there. But we talk about what the people want to talk about, and it's Alabama Crimson Tide football. To understand that is who would be able to follow that. In my mind, it was Lane Kiffin. I think they went away from that. I don't think that that was a true candidate. Now, if I'm sitting here at 6 o'clock and Kalen DeBoer has not got on a plane and come from Seattle to Tuscaloosa, then do you go back to Lane Kiffin? I think that's to be determined at this point. But to me, it would have been Lane Kiffin because he would have not backed down from the intimidation of the Alabama job. I think he would have embraced it.
Ryan, it seems like the popular thing this week is for coaches to go on record and publicly turn down the Bama job, even if maybe they were not offered it, right? We've seen Dan Lanning. Sure. We've seen Steve Sarkisian. We've seen Mike Norvell put out something.
Norvell just a couple seconds ago.
What's your thoughts on – I just find it really interesting that guys are – so eager to go out there and turn down a job that maybe they never had. Can you update us on that? I mean, do you think that Dan Lanning, was he the first target? Was Sarkisian a target? Or are these guys sort of marking themselves safe or marking themselves staying from something that never existed to kind of put a notch in their belt? Because the optics are great, Ryan. Like, hey, I turned down the Bama job to stay where I'm currently at. But it may not have even happened. Your thoughts on just these coaches going out there publicly, turning down the job, if you will?
Yeah, I think it's just publicity. And I think that's why you're ended up right here with Kalen DeBoer. I think that's because you start marking off the list and you read the tea leaves. It seems to be more tea leaves that you can read in Seattle that are in other spots. Mike Norvell, I don't think that was ever an option. I look at Dan Lanning. The people that I spoke to here didn't think he was ready for the job. Just people that know him, the way that he coaches. He made a lot of rookie mistakes. And I know he's not a rookie, but I mean, he made a lot of young coaching mistakes. I don't think he was ready for this job. that's what I'm explaining. It's hard to understand the magnitude of this job. When I look at Sark, I heard that name strong for quite a while, but it kind of drifted away. In the middle of the night, to be honest with you, with the rumblings of Sark. But I think these coaches are just using it to create a deeper connection with their fan base, right? Hey, look, I turned down the Alabama job. See how much you should appreciate me? You should donate to my collective and help me, recruit the next 5-star. That's what these coaches are doing. I don't think these coaches truly are being even considered, but why not? I mean, coaches do things like this all the time for marketing. I think this is another one of those marketing decoys that has been thrown out there.
Ryan, we saw Crimson Tide faithful react quite strongly to the idea that Dabo Swinney could be the next head coach for Alabama. Your thoughts on that? If Kalen DeBoer, let's just say, does not pan out, is there any chance that Dabo Swinney ends up in Tuscaloosa in your mind?
I think you could do a lot worse than Dabo. I think you could, when you think about his pedigree, when you think about his ties to the University of Alabama, I'm a Dabo fan. I think what he's been able to do at Clemson, it's not an easy place to win. It's not an easy place to build a culture. It doesn't have that natural fan base. He's cultivated that. I think that's something that should be admired when you look at Dabo. It's the CEO part of it that I think that he would excel when you talk about recruiting, his connection and living. I mean, heck, he's came in this state when most people, could not get a recruit out of the state of Alabama. He's been here several times and signed major players out of the state. So when you look at Dabo, absolutely, he would be a great hire. And you almost wonder if he would be a backup option, because you feel like if he was offered the job, he would backflip all the way to Tuscaloosa to get this job. Just my feeling. Was he offered the job? Have they had conversations? Who knows? If it's this afternoon and you're sitting there and you're going, okay, it's 5:30, we're starting to enter the weekend, and you don't have a coach, based on the timeline that Greg Byrne presented to the players, that 72-hour window, by my mark, it'll be 48 hours this afternoon, 4:03, 4:04. So then you begin to enter that 5 or 24 hours. I just don't think it'll ever make it that far. But Dabo could be a guy that you could circle back to, because you feel like if there's anybody that would say yes, it would be Dabo.
So, Ryan, you seem pretty convinced that Kalen DeBoer is going to be the next head coach at Alabama. I'm not, saying that you're 100%, but it sounds like things are pointing in that direction, no?
Yeah, I mean, I think he would probably be at this point, probably that number one candidate. But listen, I warn people, this is a coaching search. Greg Byrne, I mean, let's go back to what he said a couple of days ago. And I could find it, maybe if you can find it very quick. Next time I talk to you publicly will be to announce our new coach. If you don't hear it from me, don't believe it. I believe him by what he said, because I know how he operates a coaching search. And many times you don't hear absolutely anything until that coaching search has been finalized. So to go back, it's almost like the more I hear about Kalen DeBoer, and it's kind of like the Dan Lanning thing. The Dan Lanning thing was growing too rapid. And I'm going, man, these people don't know. It's more of, quote, insiders. And so when I look at Kalen DeBoer, I think he would probably be that number one target right now. But that's based on, absolutely nothing, to be honest with you, other than just some people that I've talked to out in Seattle. Let me say this. If you interviewed them, if you went out and got some media folks from out in Seattle, they're very nervous about losing Kalen DeBoer. I got calls yesterday morning, started early from out there, that they were already hearing some rumblings. So do I think he's probably the number one guy? I do, but I don't know if, will he get the job? It would be just an educated guess at this standpoint.
Ryan, if it is Kalen DeBoer, your thoughts on that hiring? I mean, I think that anytime an outsider, quote unquote, comes to the SEC, whether it be via West Coast, Midwest, does not matter. There's always some uneasy feelings. So, I mean, do you think that would be that slam dunk hire folks were looking for? Would you sense some uneasiness? What are the feelings when they hear the name Kalen DeBoer and potentially him being the next head coach?
They doubted Nick Saban when he was hired. They're going to doubt Kalen DeBoer. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's going to happen. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to look at the credentials. You're going to have a lot of people that talk to the people that I spoke to. I talked with a assistant coach last night at a very prominent school, and he said, let me tell you, he is as X's and O's solid as any coach I've been around. Those are the type of things that, it will be up to his press conference to be able to sell that, to be able to rejuvenate some of that energy. Alabama fans might have become a little bit complacent. I think now is a chance to maybe show that energy. 92,000 in Nick Saban's first spring game. What are we, probably about 60 days away from that spring game? Mm-hmm. So you would think that, Kalen DeBoer would have that chance to have a fresh energy. And I think they would get behind him. But would there be doubts? Would there be conversations early on? Heck, I'm already getting those conversations from, pretty prominent Alabama people. Are you kidding me? Is this really the direction that Alabama's going? But I think the people that understand football, I think he would check a lot of boxes. I think when you look at the direction of the offensive side of the football, what he was able to do with Michael Penix, it's pretty special. I look at the quarterback spot and I almost think, what would you be able to do with the established players? Would he try to bring in other people? He brought in, Will Rogers to UW. You think about trying to throw the football all over the field. It would match up with the current direction of college football. Mm-hmm. And I think recruiting is important, but I'm not sure it is still important. I'm not saying, but when you go back a couple of years ago, you can recruit now if you've got a collective that can roll out the dough. That's what these players are asking for at this current time.
And Ryan, you look at Kalen DeBoer again and the utilization of the transfer portal. Obviously, it's going to be very important for his success, whether he's at UW, he gets his Bama job, what have you. Nick Saban, I read somewhere that he will have an office at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Your thoughts on Nick Saban, his role moving forward now, hanging around the Alabama football program? Do you think that's a positive? Do you think that adds another layer of pressure to whoever gets that job in Tuscaloosa? Just thoughts on what life looks like now, I guess, for Nick Saban when it comes to Alabama football.
Well, understand the football building is probably a good half a mile down the road, and that's where all the football coaches' offices are at. I think when you look at it, I think Nick Saban's going to be a part of fundraising. I think he'll always have a role here. But I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to overshadow a coach, right? If he's needed to consult on a couple of things to make this transition easier, absolutely, yes. But to say that no, that he's going to be a guy that's just going to microscope and he's going to be out of a practice field, I don't think that's going to happen. But to have a role, absolutely. And can you imagine Nick Saban being a fundraiser to go out here and spend time raising money for the University of Alabama? He may bring in a ton of cash for that next head football coach. So can he be an asset? And I think Coach Mal Moore did this for Nick Saban. He was that guy that kind of kept it all together from a booster standpoint that raised $240-something million. So when you think about Nick Saban, he might be able to surpass that when you think about the fundraising opportunities.
Ryan C. Fowler, host of the Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. Ryan, one last thing, and I'll get you out of here on a fun note. When you look back on the Nick Saban era at Alabama, favorite memory from his time in Tuscaloosa?
Wow. I guess the time that Nick Saban called me a pretty nasty term. I won't say it on the air because it would be inappropriate, but I remember asking for a Nick Saban liner, and I got my liner, which is just, hey, this is Nick Saban, and you're listening to the Game on the flagship home of Alabama Crimson Tide football, Tide 100.9. At that point, we were Tide 102.9, and he cut that liner. After he cut it, he goes, who is this blankety blank guy? And you got to understand Nick Saban. I'll never forget texting A.J. McCarron after that, and I said, Nick Saban just called me a blankety blank. He goes, oh, man, that's a badge of honor. Join the crowd. That first time. And so, yes, that's been several years ago, but that was a story that I guess will always be. But just the education that I received as a media member sitting on that front row, not about football, but about life and about how to manage people and to be that ultimate leader. It's pretty awesome to be able to stand in front of him and to listen. It's pretty awesome to be able to sit there and take notes and watch him manage this organization. I'm a better person because I followed Nick Saban for 17 years.
Well said, Ryan. I appreciate you taking the time, my friend. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. And again, I know you're going to be staying busy as we await word, potentially this coaching search ending sometime later today. My friend, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You are more than welcome. Appreciate you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Yeah, man. You too. Thanks so much.